Hey yo, what's going on guys, and welcome back to another Genshin Impact video. And today we got the new version of 4.3 second phases banners that we're going to be discussing on whether you should pull or not. We have Raiden Shogun, Yoimiya, and much more. Now before we get started with the video, make sure you guys hit that like button as well as subscribe to my channel for more of this type of content, and don't forget to turn on the notification bell so you guys don't miss out my latest uploads whenever we go live on my streams. Alright, now on to the disclaimer. Everything I'm about to talk about in this video is all intended for meta purposes or to those who are unsure of what to spend their primo gems on. If you like these random characters by design or gameplay, then feel free to discard everything I say in this video and go for the characters you like. Remember, this is a gacha game, so you should always pull for your favorite characters. And now, let's check out the banners. Alright, so we got Raiden Shogun and Yoimiya as for the 5 stars, and for the 4 stars, we got Bennett, Kujou Sara, and Chevreuse. Ooh, okay, now this is a great lineup. Okay, like usual, let's start with the 4 stars from top to bottom. Starting off with Bennett, he's still Bennett. That's the best way I can describe it, honestly. He's still an insane attack buffer, healer, and probably the best power partner to have. I think the only downside is that he is not the only powerful buffer in the game. Furina recently got added into the buffing character roster, and yes, you can use them together, but it's highly recommended to use a team-wide healer with Furina, which unfortunately Bennett is not. Nonetheless, Bennett will always get better the more characters release, to the point where he sets one of the highest standards for 4-star characters. Up next is Kujou Sara, which she is also a buffer like Bennett, however, she is a bit different. Her main role is to buff electro damage while dealing a decent amount of burst damage. However, she has some versatility issues. Her main issue is how demanding her constellations are. I also mentioned how she only buffs electro damage, which makes her pretty niche. Unfortunately, without her constellations, Kujou Sara is difficult to play and also loses out on her full buffing potential. In a way, she was the first to start off this trend of mono-elemental buffers who aren't C0 friendly, but when you do get her constellations, Kujou Sara becomes a powerhouse. Of course, she mainly synergizes perfectly with Raiden Shogun, but any other electro DPS can work with her. Overall, if you plan on building Kujou Sara, I would recommend to wait until you get at least C2 and above. Also, she's rarely rated up due to being practically glued to Raiden Shogun in every single rerun banner, so keep that in mind. And lastly, we have Chevreuse. Since she is the newest 4-star character, I would usually say that, we don't have enough information about her due to pre-game release. But for the first time in a while, Hoyoverse let us play her as a trial character from the version 4.3 main event. They really should do this more often. Now, for my thoughts about her, she is an interesting character because of her passives. Her main role is to debuff Electro and Pyro resistance after causing overload reaction by only consisting Electro and Pyro on your team. She's also able to buff more attack to your Pyro and Electro characters based off of her max HP, and she can heal. Now, all that sounds pretty great, but if you have noticed, the first passive works only if you have Pyro and Electric characters on your team. Sounds familiar, right? You guessed it, she works pretty similarly to Nilou but for overload reactions. So automatically, Chevreuse will be a niche character. But I will say in comparison to Nilou, Chevreuse has more teammate options. Since she buffs Electro and Pyro characters, does that mean she buffs overload as a reaction? Probably, but it still has its own issue like exploding your opponents away out of your range, or it's not strong enough DPS, etc. But I still think she will be enough to create a new type of team composition that could be viable depending on what characters will be used on her team. Like what I said before, she's interesting and we'll just have to wait and see how our Chief of Justice will fit into the game. Alright, so those are the 4 stars. Now let's move on to the 5 stars. Up next is Raiden Shogun. I mean, she is the Electro Archon, and she's still really great. Strong DPS, great energy regen, and pretty versatile. She can practically fit onto any team, especially if it needs a battery. She also has another strong build, Hyper Bloom, which she is arguably the best character for Hyper Bloom teams. Overall, I don't have much to say about Raiden Shogun since her team comps hasn't changed much, and she's still one of the strongest characters to use in the game. And finally, we have Yoimiya. She is a main DPS that mainly focuses on dealing single target power damage. For Yoimiya specifically, she also hasn't changed much. Yoimiya's single target damage is pretty powerful, but of course her main downside is her lack of AoE damage and being vulnerable on field. Otherwise, she is still a great DPS. Give her a shield and Bennett and boom, you're good to go. I would say that since Chevreuse is also here, perhaps she could work with Yoimiya since she can constantly deal power damage from far range. Perhaps that could be another team comp option, but that's just my assumption until Chevreuse fully release. And those were the character banners. Now let's move on to the weapon banner. And here's the weapon banner, which from first glance, the 5 stars are looking pretty great. However, the 4 stars looking, it's okay. Now like usual, let's start with the 4 stars from right to left. Starting off with Painslasher, it's not bad. It's mainly an EM stat stick that provides power and electric damage, decent on certain characters, but generally not used as much compared to other claymores. Up next is... Then we have Wavebreaker's Fin. From the passive, you may have guessed, yes, it is another Xiangling weapon. Obviously, this is also great on Raiden and other elemental burst damage dealers. I would say that it's a bit more useful compared to Mulan's Moon. On next is Favonious Sword. Same like all the other Favonious weapons, it's pretty great to have. And in my opinion, Favonious Sword is probably one of the more used Favonious weapons out there. The team energy plus refinements will always be welcome. Finally, we have Rust. This mainly boosts normal attack damage, which in all honesty only benefits Yoimiya, maybe Tartaglia, but that's about it for now. In other words, Rust is not great unless you have Yoimiya. And those are the 4 stars. Now let's move on to the 5 stars. Alright, so starting off with Engulfing Lightning, it has a base attack of 608 and energy recharge at 55.1%, so already pretty decent stats at both mid-range. And for the passive here, attack increased by 28% of energy recharge over the base of 100%. You can gain a maximum bonus of 80% attack. Gain 30% energy recharge for 12 seconds after using an elemental burst. Wow, that sounds actually pretty crazy, I'm not gonna lie. This is a great energy recharge and attack stat stick. Basically, you need to build more ER to gain more attack, which at max, you can get up to 80% attack and you gain 30% ER after using elemental burst. Obviously, this is a no-brainer vested slot for Raiden Shogun, but for everyone else who needs ER that scales with attack like Xiangling can definitely benefit from this weapon. Overall, a great option to own, but there is no crit on here, so do keep that in mind. And finally, we have Thundering Pulse. Now for the stats, it has a base attack of 608, so the same thing as Engulfing Lightning, and crit damage of 66.2%. Obviously, really good stats, especially with the crit damage. Now for the passive here, increases attack by 20% and grants the might of the Thundering Emblem. At stack levels of 1, 2, or 3, the Thunder Emblem increases normal attack damage by 12, 24, and 40%. The characters will obtain one Thunder Emblem in each of the following scenarios. Normal attack deals damage, stack lasts 5 seconds. Casting elemental skills, stack lasts 10 seconds. Energy is less than 100%, stack disappears when energy is full. Each stack's duration is calculated independently. So right off the bat, you get good stats plus a free 20% attack. But this bow is mainly designed for buffing normal attack damage, which once again, this mainly benefits for Yoimiya. Also, the bow's passive is easy to trigger all stacks. Only thing about this weapon is that not too many characters can take full advantage of it. Other than that, this is a great bow stat stick and can of course be used on characters like Yoimiya or Tartaglia. And those were the banners we just broke down. Now for my overall thoughts on are these banners worth to pull for. For the character banners, this is definitely going to be a great pull value, especially if you don't have Raiden Shogun or Yoimiya. Getting a Bennett is already a W, and you have a higher chance of obtaining Kujou Sara, Constellations, and of course a chance of obtaining a new 4-star character. I'll say that's pretty decent. However, like what I always mentioned during the second phase banners, I would wait till the next version 4.4 livestream where they will announce the next upcoming banner, so you can decide then whether to pull now or later. Then for the weapon banner, I would only pull if you are guaranteed getting either Thundering Pulse or Engulfing Lightning, especially if you already have Raiden or Yoimiya. Otherwise, in my opinion, this is a skip. Luckily for Raiden and Yoimiya, they have lots of other options besides their signature weapons. Also, the 4 stars here are not that great compared to other weapon banners, so this already to me devalues this weapon banner. And that's pretty much everything. So if you guys enjoyed this video, make sure you guys hit that like button, as well as subscribe to my channel for more of this type of content. And don't forget to turn that notification bell on so you guys don't miss out on my latest uploads or when I go live on my streams. And that's pretty much everything all I got. Thank you all so much for watching, and as always, until next time, stay epic and peace out.